Social justice. It's the effect of systemic progress. It's not about this moment, it's about every moment. It's not about immediate change. It's about constant momentum. Saybrook University has been doing the work since 1971, educating inquisitive, informed, and inspired leaders to change the world for the better. Learn more at saybrook.edu.
Now that commission-free trading is the norm, it's time to rethink how we define value. Value is more than a price tag. It's the confidence of knowing you have a team of traders on standby to answer any question. It's thinkorswim's charting and analysis tools, and it's a personalized education to fine-tune your skills. Value is becoming smarter with every commission-free online equity trade. Discover true value with TD Ameritrade, where smart investors get smarter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. We have heard some wild excuses from the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family throughout this whole entire ordeal. We've heard about his fingers being too fat. We've heard he doesn't sweat. We've heard he doesn't drink. And now we're hearing that he's allergic to horses as well. Pretty odd considering I just saw a picture of him riding around on a horse all around his property. But I'm sure there'll be an excuse for that as well. We have an article from The Sun this morning, and according to this article, one of Andrew's friends, I'm using air quotes when I use that word, by the way, has come out and said that Andrew couldn't have been riding on a horse with Virginia at Zorro Ranch because he's allergic to horsehair, duh. I mean, you guys didn't know that? I mean, geez, Prince Andrew is obviously allergic to horsehair, sheesh. Talk about absurd. When they said he couldn't sweat and then pictures were provided of him sweating, oh, well, he fixed his condition. There's a treatment for that. Meanwhile, everybody knows that this is just more nonsense, more BS. Oh, well, he couldn't have been riding on a horse. He's allergic to horsehair. Well, bitch, I thought he wasn't at Zorro Ranch in the first place. Now it's not that he wasn't at Zorro Ranch, it's just that he wasn't riding a horse. These people will try anything to discredit the stories that are coming out against them. And honestly, folks, I don't believe the nonsense. I don't believe the narrative that's being pumped by these people. It falls flat on its face because it is not backed up by any sort of factual receipts and corroborating witnesses, none of it. We're just to believe that Andrew has all of these afflictions, right? What is he, the boy in the bubble? He has all of these afflictions. He can't sweat. He's allergic to horsehair. I mean, the biggest problem that I see with this guy is he's a pathological liar. Why don't we talk about that condition? Why don't we talk about that problem? Allergic to horsehair. And just when you thought you have heard it all from Prince Andrew, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, we now come upon this. Horsehair is your excuse? You're allergic to horsehair. So that's why you weren't riding them horses, huh? You haven't been to any horse shows, you haven't been around the stables, none of that stuff, right? The picture that we saw of you on the horse recently, that's Photoshopped too. Just like the picture of you with Virginia, right? All of it's fake. Don't believe anything we see. Don't believe any of the evidence that's been provided. Only believe the narrative that I'm spinning because, after all, I'm much better than you because I was born a Windsor. Well, buddy, the days of anybody giving you the benefit of the doubt or any other so-called elite the benefit of the doubt have come and gone. Not only are you tarnished with the scent of Jeffrey Epstein, now your other fellow traveler, Peter Nygaard, is also under arrest for, guess what? Sex crimes. So I don't know about you folks, but I don't know one person who's been involved in human trafficking and sexual offenses. Never mind two of the most prolific. How are they going to back out of this one? How are they going to try and change the narrative? Because I don't think anyone's really going to listen at this point to the spin doctors and to their spin meisters and to the people that are going to come out and try and throw cold water all over this. There's no explanation for why the Prince of England had a relationship with two of the most prolific sex traffickers uncovered. And not only that, we haven't even talked about all of his relationships with oligarchs, arms traders, despots, authoritarians. You name it, this guy was hanging out with them. And it was all about status, all about stature, as if he didn't have enough. As if being the Prince of England isn't enough power, isn't enough privilege. No, he had to have more. His greed made him want more. And he felt he was above the law. I could do whatever I want. I am the Prince of England. Sure, I'll hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. Never going to come back on me. Nygaard? Yeah, I'll hang out with him too. What can they give me? Oh, there's a lot of hot girls around? I'm in. No questions asked. And now, when the karma train comes screeching out of the station, down the tracks, and directly barreling at him, all of a sudden, there's all of these excuses? Well, I'm sorry, Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, and I hate to be the one to break the news to you, not really, but none of your BS excuses are landing. Your narrative is failing. And you, my friend, have a lot of questions to answer. Our article today is from The Sun. Headline, Horseplay. Andrew couldn't have gone riding with sex accuser at Epstein's ranch because he was allergic to horsehair, Pal claims. This article was authored by Patrick Knox. And remember, when I hear Pal with Prince Andrew, I automatically think part of his legal team. Not too sure he has very many pals hanging around anymore. People run for cover in situations like this, right? What, some of the nobility of England is going to want to be tarnished by Prince Andrew? They're going to want to get dragged down by Prince Andrew? Of course not. They're all running for the hills. He doesn't have any friends. Maybe a few loyalists that have stuck by him, but besides that, it's all PR people and lawyers, etc., etc. So anytime I see one of these articles talking about, quote-unquote, a pal or a friend, I automatically default to think that it's one of their PR dorks, right? Or one of their legal team that's putting this out in the media and saying it is from, quote-unquote, a friend. Miss Roberts claims the Duke of York, a.k.a. Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, went horse riding with her during a sex-filled break at the Zorro Ranch in New Mexico, owned by pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I know for a fact that Prince Andrew was at Zorro Ranch. I know that from my trip down there and the sources that I talked to. Unequivocally, they stated that Andrew was down there. And everything else that they have told me has checked out. So why would they lie about someone like Prince Andrew, right? Doesn't make any sense. If people were making up claims, I'm sure it would be about Bill Clinton and shit like that, right? Not Prince Andrew, not here in America, I mean. So we know that he was at Zorro Ranch. We know that Zorro Ranch had horses. We saw the pictures of Virginia riding there that she has provided. Now, according to Virginia, when they were at Zorro Ranch, That was one of the things that they did to entertain themselves while they were hanging out. They took a horse ride. So Andrew is now saying that that's not the case. I am allergic to horsehair. Didn't you know? It's right there in my medical file, next to moron and not being able to sweat. The Duke of York has been accused of sleeping with the mum of three, Miss Roberts, 3 times when she was a teenager. And again, these are the allegations that have been made by Virginia. Virginia has been staunch in her allegations, and she has provided a lot of receipts. There's been corroborating witnesses about Andrew being in the same location. We have the flight logs of Andrew flying into, certain areas where Virginia was at, etc., etc. Tons and tons and tons of circumstantial evidence that is out there for the public to see. And in fact, it is enough that the federal government wants to speak to Andrew. So when I say that usually when there's some smoke, there's a fire? Yeah, we're definitely dealing with that here, in my opinion. I highly doubt they want to speak to him as just a witness. Do you really think they would have done the whole full pomp and circumstance that they did, talking about Andrew the way they did, if he was just a witness? What they're trying to do is put pressure on him, shame him into coming out to talk to the authorities. And it's because they really don't have any other tools in their toolbox to compel Prince Andrew to do so. On one occasion, she claimed she spent 2 days alone with Prince Andrew at Epstein's 10,000-acre ranch 20 years ago. Here she claimed she was directed to entertain him with erotic massages and horse riding. Well, we know that Andrew dug the erotic massages. We definitely know that. We also know that he spent time at Zorro Ranch with that neurosurgeon lady. Her name escapes me right now. So we know that he has a profile of being somebody down at Zorro Ranch. We also know that he was in Santa Fe as a guest of Bill Richardson in his official capacity as the trade ambassador or whatever the hell he was doing. That's all documented. That's in the Santa Fe, New Mexican, a bunch of different newspapers that you can go and look up. And he was obviously someone who was very familiar with Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch. He was obviously familiar with the area. And I don't buy for a minute that he had a horse allergy that would stop him from riding horses. I don't buy it. But a friend of Andrew's, remember when I say friend, I mean someone in his crisis team, I would guess, claims this could not have happened because he was allergic to horsehair. Don't you guys know that? Jeez. I mean, come on. Everybody knows that the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is allergic to horsehair. This comes after the Duke claimed he suffered from a condition that countered claims made by Miss Roberts that she met him at the Tramp nightclub on March 10th, 2001, when she was 17, claiming the Duke was profusely sweating. So again, every time Virginia has an allegation and gives details about the situation that occurred, Andrew responds with saying he has some sort of medical condition that would prevent him from doing the things that she says he was doing physically. Couldn't sweat, allergic to horses, and then miraculously, though, all of a sudden later on in life, both of those conditions go by the wayside. He's pictured sweating at a club, he's pictured riding a horse, but he wants you to believe that these conditions were present while he was with Virginia in the time period in question. You come to your own conclusions, folks, right? You don't need anybody to tell you how to think. You don't need anybody to tell you what the deal is. Personally, I find it highly unlikely that this man is suffering from all of these ailments. Andrew's pal told the Daily Mail it's well known amongst his family and friends that the Duke had a hay fever allergy that was with him all his life. Oh, I'm sure. I am so sure that this hay fever was just so detrimental to his health that he could never be around horses, that he just couldn't even go to horse shows or anything like that. He couldn't go to a stable. In fact, he couldn't be within 100 miles of a horse. His allergies were so bad. Don't you guys know that? All of his family and friends knew about his horse allergies. These people are ludicrous. In fact, they're mentally ill and insane. To think that anyone's buying this shitty narrative, to think that anyone is trusting them with anything that they're saying. I don't believe a word of this shit. Allergic to horsehair? The fingers are too fat? The picture is not me? I couldn't have been out then. I wasn't even wearing the right kit. I dropped my daughter off at the pizza place and then I hung out with her there. To which his daughter does not recall occurring even. So please, can we get through the BS? Can we stop the nonsense? And when is going to be the time for you, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, to do the honorable thing and speak to the authorities? Stop with the bullshit. You're digging your grave much deeper. So, he gave up horse riding in his teens. The Duchess persuaded him to take an acupuncture cure in later life, and that dealt with the horsehair allergy as well. Look, I don't know shit about acupuncture, right? I'm not a big fan of needles in the best of times. I'm certainly not going to some clinic where they're stabbing me full of needles anytime soon, right? That's out. But if any of you out there are familiar with acupuncture, I mean, is this the deal, right? This is the tried and true medicine here? Get a little acupuncture and we'll get rid of your hay fever, huh? Sounds to me like some woods witch type shit. Like some shaman kind of magic. But what do I know? Like I said, I don't know anything about acupuncture. Maybe there is some sort of treatment for hay fever via acupuncture. But folks, I am not buying any of this. This is one of the most ludicrous excuses we've heard from the camp of Andrew in a litany of ludicrous excuses. So he took up horse riding again in his 50s, took lessons in 2017 and 2018, and was proficient enough for trooping the color in honor of his mother later that year. Oh, well. Another condition miraculously disappears after some acupuncture. Then he's taking horseback riding lessons in 2017 and 18, so he's prepared to troop the colors for dear old mom. I mean, honestly, do they really think that people are going to buy this shit? Do they really think that the investigators are going to buy this, or that a court of law is going to buy this? Because I have a funny feeling they will not. Andrew has been pictured at horse shows over the years, but there is reportedly a decades-long gap between him being photographed on horseback as a youngster to photographs of him in the saddle in recent times. So that's the evidence, just because nobody was there to snap a flick of him on a horse, that it didn't happen. So I guess if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, the shit just didn't happen, right? We should just go with the fact that he's obviously allergic to horses. That's obviously what's going on. Meanwhile, he's been at horse shows. How can you have such a hay fever that you're this allergic to horses, but you can go to horse shows and be in the vicinity of, I would guess, hundreds, right? I've never been to one. Hundreds of horses. I don't buy this for a second, okay? Sure, did he get the sneezes maybe when he was around a horse? Probably, maybe. But did that stop him from riding horses? Did that stop him from going to these horse shows? No, it has not. This contradicts claims made by Miss Roberts in her unpublished memoir. This and the bathtub, that's the two big shots you guys have here, huh? That's the two big shots in the dark you're taking. You're going to need more. You are going to need more. In this, she wrote, my job was to entertain him endlessly, whether that meant having to bestow him my body during an erotic massage or simply take him horseback riding. So, you mean to tell me that Andrew and the person that we know from the profile that has been built wouldn't risk some runny eyes and a few sneezes to engage in sexual relations with this young lady? Come on. We know that Andrew was, well, they called him Randy Andy, right? We know that he is not some guy that shrinks away from this sort of behavior. And if you think a runny nose and some itchy eyes are going to get in the way of him having self-gratification, you have not been paying attention to the person that we're talking about. She said she was not initially told who was going to be at the property, but when she arrived, she found the prince waiting for her. Hello, that same old cheesy grin greeted me once again. It was His Highness, Prince Andrew. And what a sight, she wrote. Look, imagine this disgusting man, who could have had just about any woman he wanted, I would guess, thinks it's a good idea to go to Jeffrey Epstein's Zorro Ranch with this young lady, girl in fact, and spend a weekend romping around? You never thought that this could blow back on you, or at some point in life this would come back and haunt you? You could have had any woman you wanted. There are professional sex workers in numerous countries. But yet, you're hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, this sick bastard. And you want us to believe that you let a little bit of a runny eye syndrome, some sneezes, get in the way of that? Sorry, I'm not buying it. The allergy claim comes after a BBC interview in which the Duke revealed a condition which is known as anhidrosis in a Newsnight interview with presenter Emily Maitlis, which meant he cannot sweat. She questioned him over claims he slept with the teenager. The whole sweat thing was ridiculous on its face when it came out, and we blew that out of the water with the pictures of him sweating. And now it's the same thing with the horseback riding, right? There's pictures of him on a horse, but they'll say, oh yeah, he had that condition, but it's gone now. We went to the medicine man and the woods witch, and they did this miraculous dance out in the middle of the woods and shook some bones inside of a little cup, and he was miraculously cured. Responding to Miss Roberts' recollection of meeting him, he claimed, I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time. I didn't sweat at the time because I had suffered what I would describe as an overdose of adrenaline in the Falklands War, when I was shot at and it was almost impossible for me to sweat. Good thing you didn't live in the inner city, bro. Good thing you never grew up in the inner city, because you probably would have had a heart attack and died. We'll talk about an adrenaline rush. And what about all of the other troops that have been shot at? What about all of the other troops that had close encounters with death? All of a sudden, you're not able to sweat because you were in the Falklands War? It's incredibly ridiculous. And it's pretty convenient that all of a sudden the Prince of England has all of these ailments. What's next? Oh, I have leprosy? But he said it was only because he had done a number of things in the recent past that he was able to sweat again. The Duke has denied any involvement and all of the allegations. So again, it's the new treatments that he discovered or his people discovered that made me sweat again. But wait, there's more. I am also no longer allergic to horsehair. I mean, at this point in time, the BS needs to end. The obfuscation needs to end. The veil of secrecy needs to be lifted, and people like the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family really need to come forward and speak to authorities and go on record. We know that he's not going to do it. We know that he's trying to avoid an in-person interview. We know that he doesn't want to sit down and be deposed by these people. He wants to give a written account of what he says occurred and be done with it. And the federal government, they're not having it. And that's what leads me to believe he is more than a witness. If he was just a witness, they would get a witness statement from him, and that would be the end of it, right? All right, write in a witness statement, send it on into us, have your lawyer there, whatever it may be. But that is not the case, is it? There's wrangling, there's back and forth, there's deal-making going on. And all of that is because his lawyers understand, very much so, that he is not a witness in this case, but he is somebody that is of interest to the federal government. And all of the excuses that you can muster, be it not being able to sweat, or being allergic to horsehair, are not going to be able to provide you cover from eventually speaking to the authorities. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI at protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. All right, everybody, I'll be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop. Hope you all enjoy your Wednesday.
Finished a load of laundry. Drop the kids off at daycare, hit the gym for a quick workout, stop by Mickey D's to grab some breakfast, got to work before my boss did, and it's only 9 a.m. Meal.
There's a meal for every morning at McDonald's.
Right now, your favorite chicken for breakfast makes it worth waking for. Mix and match a Chicken McGriddles and a McChicken biscuit for just $3.50. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with combo meal. Single item at regular price. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
We each have our own destination getaway. An escape unfettered by daily obligation, where you're free to simply unwind and just be you, to be one with your imagination, where you and only you decide what constitutes a win. Welcome to Shumash Casino Resort. Welcome to freedom. Always game responsibly. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years of age or older.